Hello and welcome once again to One on One here on Metro TV. I am Bright Nanakosi Amen, and today we are talking about everything data here in Ghana. I'll tell you who my guest on the show after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to One on One. I'm here with Madam Patricia Adusei-OPOKU. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Data Protection Commission here in Ghana. I want to find out all what is happening exactly with the commission and individual data that's been collected by the NIA and other people. What is it exactly being used for? We talk about all that. Stay with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us here in our studios.
Thank you, Bright.
I know you've been having your Data and Privacy Week. Tell me, how has it been for you so far?
It's been a very exciting week. We have had the opportunity to interact with various groups and sectors in the country, and their engagement with us has been very active. We've met with students, academia, business people, and then we've had sector-specific webinars, free webinars, health, financial sector, businesses, and all of that has been very much well participated in, and we've had the opportunity to really engage the Ghanaian public this week.
What has the message really been about?
So the theme for this year's Data Protection Week has been data governance for a safe digitized space.
Data governance for a safe digitized space. Are we safe digitally as a country?
So what the theme is trying to achieve is to say to Ghanaians that we've done a lot as far as digitizing the economy is concerned, converting a lot of our manual systems into a digitized database, soft electronic data. However, with that, if you can imagine that all the data is flying about, we are not sure who has what, where it's filed, where it's stored, who has access, why and when. And so we are promoting a data governance culture in the country where there will be a standardized approach to data management such that every institution, private, public, and even NGOs will have a structured way of doing data management. How you collect it, how you store it, policies that you should put in place, training that your staff should have, so that those who have access to processing data will have an understanding of what it is that we are trying to achieve as a national objective and how to get there.
And I know before you landed on this particular theme, you might have done your checks.
That's right.
To ensure, to see what exactly is on the ground and what is happening there. Tell me, from your checks, what's the main problem facing data collection in Ghana?
So some of the challenges that we are seeing from our end is this integrated way of managing data, siloed working, lack of understanding of the protocols to follow in terms of data access and exchange, free choice of technology for all entities such that there's no coordinated technology speaking to each other. And so when it's time for data to be merged or aggregated to make some efficient or effective decision making, you find that we have problems that could have been eliminated, like systems that can't speak to each other, data sets that don't match, and problems that stop us from moving the electronic data into one space to for the processing for the general public good, such that you and I will start benefiting from this digitized economy that we talk about.
One of the biggest problems I see people talk about a lot is how their data is being collected over and over and over again by different institutions.
Exactly.
So we have the NIA collecting your data, and we are thinking, okay, NIA has it, so I don't have to go to any telecommunication network for my biodata to be collected, or go to the passport office for the same thing to be done, to the DVLA for the same thing to be done. But then once it's with the NIA, once they go into the system, they'll find it. Why do we have every different single institution doing the same thing over again, in as much as we have the NIA collecting all this?
This is what I was just talking about theme data governance, a national scheme for managing data. Ideally, when you have a national ID card, wherever you present it, if the institution has access to the national ID database, they should be able to access your information and serve you more efficiently and effectively. But like you're saying, we are repeatedly giving the same information
which
to
is dangerous,
public
if I'm
institutions.
correct.
Yes, it creates a duplication of data. We don't have one single source of truth. There is different qualities of data management, and so the inaccuracies will obviously start emerging, and the data won't be clean. And so we are looking for ways of streamlining the way we use and manage the data to solve this specific problem that you have raised.
Now, if an institution collects your data, aside them using it for what they intend to use it for, what are some other thing they can use your data for once collected?
There are principles by which institutions should manage data. One of the main principles is that they should be able to tell you on what legitimate basis they are collecting the data. All this should happen at the point of collection. So when you enter a government institution and they want to collect your information for work, they should be able to tell you on what legitimate grounds. Like, is there a law?
You have the right to question them.
Yes. So is there a law that authorizes you to collect the data or this detail from me? Many public institutions, as you know, have a law. There's a financial law, there's a health act, and all of that. If the institution or entity that is collecting the data doesn't have a legitimate ground, then they must ask you to consent to the data being collected. Where there's legitimate grounds, the government has already authorized them to take the data from you in order to serve you. If there's no law backing the collection of data, then the institution must seek your consent. And in order to get your consent to process your data, you must be informed about why they are collecting the information. So the next principle is the purpose specification, where the institution must explain its purposes to you and tell you why they need that information. You may have approached them, but they should tell you why they need that number of data set, every attribute in the data set, such as your name, your address, your date of birth, and all of that.
Your thumbprint.
All of these are attributes in your data set to make a record. So they should explain why they need all that detail beyond, say, your name to help you. That is purpose specification. When you have understood the purpose and you agree that they need it, then you are able to give your consent for the data to be taken. You should be able to get more transparency beyond the explanation of the purpose. The transparency, we mean that about how the data will be managed. How will it be transmitted? Where will it be stored? How long are they keeping it? Who else will have access to it in order to achieve that objective?
Sorry to cut, but then how do you even get to know that the data that was collected by a particular outfit has been transferred to another? How do you even get to know as an individual?
They need to let you know. At the point of collection, they need to let you know. And then continuously inform you or advise you if some changes are needed. Supposing at the point of collection, they didn't realize how they could use the information, and then later they think of a way that they want to use the information, they should contact you again and ask you for your permission. This is your consent. Unless they have come to the Data Protection Commission to explain to us where we are able to stand in your stead and also authorize that repurposing of the data, which is what they generally call in the data controllers realm, getting clearance from the commission. This is it is like this because some databases are so large, so huge, like the health database, education, banks. The number of customers they are dealing with are so many that you can't reasonably expect banks to now contact each of their customers to ask the same permission. And what if some agree and some don't? It's going to really mess their processing up. So they come to the commission and tell us exactly what they want to do with the data. We will then consider in your stead or on behalf of the public of Ghana that yes, we think that this is a reasonable purpose and it's for the general good of the public. We will all benefit from it. It will make them more efficient and effective at serving us, and agree with them on your behalf. And that is them processing based on a legitimate interest from us. So we give them that clearance to do it on your behalf. Outside that, businesses are not legally able to repurpose the data that they have collected for one purpose to do another thing.
Let me quickly ask you this. Now, when the understanding between the telcos and NIA was going on to ensure that the restoration of the SIM cards are done, was the DPC consulted?
To a point, but there was an NCA project team leading that whole process. And so we, at the commission, we get involved when we see challenges, when we see issues, public agitation, public unrest, we get involved. But we are not part of the team. We make sure that those 2 or 3 agents or institutions involved have duly registered with the commission and are trained or have personnel trained who should know exactly what to do with the data and are involved in that project, which we made sure had happened. So we have people trained from the NIA, from the SCA, and the telcos who are data protection practitioners. And I had involved all the institutional health to make sure these people are involved in the project.
I'm asking because if your office was involved in the procedure and you advise that we don't have to have all these telcos collect the same data and they can just tap into the NIA, why then is it happening? And why then are we now looking for solutions to make sure that it's sorted?
I asked the question and the explanation was that they are collecting but not storing, that is still being saved with the NIA.
That's a bit confusing.
Yes.
Collecting and not storing.
Yes.
How does that work? Because
So
you are taking the same data I give to NIA.
So you go to these telcos and they take your thumbprints, and the information goes to the NIA verification team to check whether you are bright, the same person that they produce the national ID card with. Funny enough, up till now, we haven't had a single complaint from any member of the public to the commission about
a different collection of data?
No.
Not even one?
No.
Because I've heard a couple of them.
Yes, there's a lot of talk and discussions, but we haven't had any complaints.
You mean formal complaints to your
Formal
outfit?
complaints. So what checks we need to do with our information or requirements that we need to push on these data controllers, we've done that.
But I don't think we have to wait for a formal complaint before we start acting on it. What are you doing to ensure that
That's why I'm saying
nobody
that
even complains in the future?
We have done what we need to do. We have informed them of what protocols they need to follow and what our expectations are of that process. That has been conveyed to them, and they are all documenting the evidence to show that things have been done in order for the commission.
I'm still here with Madam Adusei-OPOKU. She is the chair, executive director of Data Protection Commission. We are talking about everything data here in Ghana, the collection of data by individuals, by institutions. What exactly is it being used for? I'm told they can't even sell our data. I'm told our data can be sold.
Some institutions do sell the data, and it's illegal.
Tell me about that. Explain to me further.
So we had rumors that some institutions sell the data to members of the public, and the evidence is that the public get a lot of unsolicited text messages for different reasons, to go betting or to
go betting.
Yes, to bet. Betting companies contacting data subjects who haven't been in touch with a bet shop before, or we get them being asked to go for a loan.
Yeah, because over there you get messages from institutions asking you
so these are bits of evidence that show that your data has gone into the wrong hands because you never give your number to these people. So they must have access to a database that includes your data. And some of them that are becoming distressful for the public, we are taking action by reporting to the police and triggering investigations into it.
But then who do you blame when you receive such messages? Is it telcos or or NIA? Who do you blame?
I mean, it depends on what the challenge is, but it's sometimes a combination of institutions. To be able to send a text message, it involves the telcos, of course, that blasts the SMS, and obviously the data controller whose message is being shared is also part of this institution. When we find out, we get in touch with our peer regulators for that ecosystem, and so other peer regulators such as the NCA, or for betting, the Gaming Commission, or our Controller and Accountant General for those who are getting messages as public employees that are getting the loan harassment. We've contacted all these regulators to look into the system. In some instances, we've sent auditors to them to audit their internal systems to see whether they are following our due processes.
It seems a lot of illegalities are happening without data.
Exactly.
What's wrong? What exactly is the problem? Why are we not able to fix all this?
So data protection is an act that applies retrospectively. So it's not from this date effective going forward. When there's a data protection law passed, it's retrospectively applicable to data from whenever it started. So it's going back to when Ghana started, for example. And so it covers a whole lot of data, some that has been sitting in government institutions forever. It's sometimes the case that the data was already in these hands before the data controller commenced their privacy action. Sometimes it's because there are insiders in institutions who haven't been trained, staff who haven't had enough training about the do's and don'ts of data management, or staff who intentionally want to profiteer from the data in the database because they have access to it. Some are unintentional sharing or wrongful sharing of data to the wrong spaces that haven't been properly controlled. A lot depends on the leader of the institution. So this theme that we have this year is very focused on ensuring that key decision makers in institutions are beginning to take action that is appropriate. We are now looking at negligent leaders of institutions that are failing to make the right decisions that ensures that the organizational culture is on proper management of the data. That has a lot to do with data, with the lax attitude to data management, because people in key decision-making positions are not prioritizing data protection, and we are on that as an action this year.
I am tempted to ask you some of the names, individuals, name and shame, the leaders who are not ensuring that the proper thing
I'd rather you didn't, but we intend to publish a list as soon as possible, because if you do ask me a name, I need to refer to our system to see if they are in there, and I don't have the whole system in my head, so it will be unanswerable here. But we are doing the work internally to publish a list in sectors of those in sectors of those who have not done their data protection, including the public sector, who have not taken action as is their legal responsibility to do.
And what are going to be the penalty?
We are preparing for prosecution. The weakness in the Ghana Act currently is that where in other jurisdictions the Data Protection Commission has direct sanctioning powers to look at a situation, see that it's non-compliant, and apply the sanction and a fine, for example, to their institution. We are having to arrange them before court, first reporting to the police and bringing them to court for prosecution. And so now we hopefully want to be able to amend the law to change that to a direct sanctioning power for the Commission.
Have we already initiated that in Parliament for it to be changed?
We have, the Attorney General has just assigned a drafter to the Commission who is going to help us look at the areas of the law that we need the changes in before we present it to Parliament.
Okay, and interestingly, there are also online loan lenders who are also using people's data.
Exactly.
And they take them, and later in the next 5 to 2 days they come attacking you, and the fees and the details are all over the place. There'll be complaints, which I know you've seen them, if you've spoken about them and all that. Yeah. How are you dealing with these things?
This is a public education thing for us, because individuals on their own choice or decision download these apps onto their phone and then allow the apps to access their contacts. And so we are doing a lot of public education, and I'm glad you've raised it, because those who are hearing us also should learn that any app that you download and allow to have access to your contact can in fact contact your network of people on the phone and message them. And in this case, this scenario, the loan app owners are actually accessing the contacts on the individual's phones once they have defaulted on paying their loans, and they are messaging them, telling them the victim is a thief, they've stolen money, they are wanted for one crime or the other, and really causing them embarrassment, distress and harm, which we have also reported to the police and triggered the action in the hope that we might find one of these online loan apps owners and bring them to justice.
I saw one post on Facebook that was telling his story about how his picture was everywhere because he had defaulted a day for paying back a loan he took from an online loan app. And it's quite terrible if you realize the damage that will be done to the person. Yeah, exactly. But then before this apps are even installed in the Apple stores and the iOS and all that, are there any checks and any consultations? How do they even get on there? Because these are like still things to do with data.
There is a whole procedure for these online stores to follow to do some background checks to get these guys on these online stores. But you will find that some of them are not even on Apple Store or Google Store. They are just through links that are passed from friend to friend to download. And so when these links go viral, they are hard to control, and they are also hard to track who the owner or the developers are. So these are illegal loan apps. We've already contacted the Bank of Ghana with a list of at least 10 of them that have come onto our radar, and they have not all registered with the Bank of Ghana. They are not on their list. So they are very hard to track. And so our advice to people is not to download loan apps if you are not sure who they are.
If you need a loan, go to the bank or go to a loan, loan institution, a fiscal one, not an online loan app. You end up having the details out there, and later your information, everything will be out there. Let's now talk about ways and means by securing our data. So people are now going online, anything they see, they click on it, accept cookies, accept this, accept that, and they just keep doing it over and over and over again. What do we stand to lose when it comes to our data and giving out data without even thinking twice?
So now, as an individual, there's a lot of responsibility on you. You own your data. Data protection laws empower individuals to own your data. But where you proactively put the data online, there's not much the Commission can do to help you. So our education is that you check what you download. Your online behavior becomes your digital ID. So we have our national ID card, your physical ID that you can hold. But then there's your digital ID that is connected to how you behave online. The associations you join, the groups you join, the apps you download, the searches you make on Google, for example, becomes you, what you like, who you are, what you prefer, and what you are as a person. This whole combining of actions that you do is not what we describe as profiling. So online businesses, online app users, online browsers begin to identify you by your behavior. For example, they might say, this is Bright. He likes buying from Woodin. He has this height. He loves these shoes. This is his favorite color. This is his favorite shop. Just by what you do. He's on Facebook. These are his friends. When you look at the kind of people he associates and connects with online, this is who he is. This is why we say your network is your net worth. Who you are connected to becomes you. And so based on that, businesses and online businesses start contacting you and with you based on your likes and your behavior and your actions online. That is your digital
I want to
ID.
talk more about that, because sometimes you realize you have a conversation with somebody, and the next minute you go online and you are seeing the exact thing
being presented to you.
Exactly. I'm like, what kind of mind games are these?
So this is your digital ID. Now there are snooping tools.
You know what? Hold on for that part for me. I'll come back to you. But I'm still here with Madam PATRICIA Adusei-OPOKU. She is the Chief Executive Director of the Data Protection Commission here in Ghana. We are talking everything data. Still with us. We'll be back with more. Don't go anywhere. Still here on One-on-One. I'm still in studio with Madam PATRICIA Adusei-OPOKU. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Data Protection Commission here in Ghana, and we are talking everything data. Let's talk about digital ID. I mean, so have you realized that anytime you go online, before you even go online, you have a conversation with somebody about renting a house or buying a car. Now you go online and all you see is cars, or the sale of cars, or the sale of houses or something, and you're like, what kind of mind games are they playing on me? I'm like, it gets scary.
Yes.
What is that?
So there are a lot of analytics online. Businesses who just exist to track your behavior online, your actions, where you search for information, who you're connected with. So this tracking builds a profile of you. It becomes you online. They don't know you personally. They just know you by your photos, your audios, your connections, your searches, and of course, your actions online is a description of you and what you like. And so your digital ID is now quickly becoming more powerful than your physical passport or national ID that you keep in your bag. We spend a lot of time online, on social media, on browsers, and now the browsers know us more than our family. And so it tells it sells, the analytics now sells your data to other businesses, e-commerce, and those who want to connect and interact with you online. Again, businesses are using that information to choose personnel to work with. Some employers will go online and check these analytics and profile of you and decide whether you're a person who will fit in their team or whether you will gel with their team before they make a final decision on employing you. Other people have lost jobs for lying. You call in sick.
For lying online.
Yes, you call in sick, but what you are putting on Facebook and TikTok doesn't depict you as sick, and they've gone back to work and lost their jobs because employers are also tracking people online. And so this is why they use these cookies. Cookies, whilst you're searching and browsing, is collecting these details and compiling it for the business that has put the cookie there. And this is why it's good when you have used the system after a while to go online into your temporary files and delete your browsing history.
Wait, you go online and delete what exactly?
You need to clear your browsing history. It clears the cookies, it clears where you've been, it clears some of the information in the history that gives you a fresh start in the browsers. Because once it is there, it is being used, and your computer is storing that information for whoever has put cookies there.
So once you accept cookies on any website,
yes,
you are given the permission to enter into your personal data.
That it should track you. There are some essential cookies that business use because some businesses store information. They give you a profile, you log into that business, you have a login, you go on Amazon, you have your login. So some essential cookies will store your password and your login, make your life easier, stores all your history of orders.
Which you are asked.
Which you have.
Can we save your password?
Exactly. And it stores this information about you so that when you go back, those things that is important to you is still there. But then there are other functional cookies that just track your behavior, and there are businesses online that sells this tracking information and profiling information about you to other interested parties. And this is how your information passes around globally, creating a digital ID. This is why I say your digital ID is quickly becoming more powerful than your national ID or your traveling ID, the passport, because your digital ID is stored globally.
Now I'm scared.
And so what you do online becomes you. And so you must make sure that who you call, what you call your reputation is reflected not just physically but on your in your online behavior. Otherwise, the bright online will not be the bright physically. And the problem with cookies is it might wrongly profile you, especially if you give your browser to someone else to use. We, the parents, sometimes we allow our children to go searching for stuff on our website, and you go back and it's showing you things that they searched for. So my profile may not be fully me. It might be other people using your browser as well. All these are educational bits that we want to share with our data subjects to mind their behavior online. We can't litigate on that or regulate that because you choose to put it there. You choose to act that way. What we regulate in the ecosystem is what other data controllers collect about you and how they use it. That we can control and that we can regulate. However, what you choose to do or put out there, your photos and your media out there, is on you to manage.
Now, makes me want to take you back to a conversation on the ID cards. So some time ago there were issues that when people go to photocopy the ID cards, they are told that, oh, it didn't work, and then when they leave, the person there actually prints out the photocopy and duplicates it for dubious things. How are we protecting these things? How are we checking these duplications?
We need to be really vigilant. There are some really small data controllers that are hard to fish out or to even identify. And in the commission, we pick our battles. We are working with the data controllers that are established businesses, registered with the Registrar General, tax-paying mostly, or known public institutions and NGOs. The little photocopier man down the corner of your street, we might not know them. And we are educating you, the data subjects, to be vigilant around your physical ID, your digital ID when you go to these communication centers and you're using systems that are not yours. You leave tracks of your information there. If you have a scanned copy of your national ID card or your passport and you upload it into a space like that, you need to be very careful. Or you go to do your photocopying, you make sure that those copies that you are leaving because it's too dark or didn't come out right, you collect and take home with you, or shred them, dispose of them in a very safe way.
But how is somebody able to use other person's ID card when I have my biometric and all that data embedded in the ID card?
Oh, there are imposters, and you know that it's all technology. Just as we have good technology, we have also malicious actors in the ecosystem. Those who develop technology are the same developers that are able to also develop viruses, hacking tools, and are able to use them maliciously for their own personal gain. Inevitably, in any ecosystem, we have the good actors and the bad actors, the fraudsters, the online thieves, who will come looking specifically for your digitized information or your national ID card to create imposters and go and use it for fraudulent purposes. Obviously, we have the National Cybersecurity Team authority whose responsibility is to fish out these fraudsters. And if it's financial, we have the National FIC that is responsible for that. We educate the public to be careful as to how they use that national ID or where they put it, and be vigilant. And if they ask for correction or object to how their data is being used and they don't get satisfaction, they have the commission to come to. So our main purpose in the Data Protection Commission is to ensure that your personal data is being used legally and appropriately, and to ensure that your privacy is being respected.
Now, the meeting with CEOs, tell me about it. It's part of the Data Privacy Week.
Yes, so tomorrow we are meeting CEOs of the nation to, again, explain their obligations to them, tell them what our focus this year is on enforcement, why they should make sure they are in good standing, their institutions are in good standing with the Commission, and the benefits, the return on investment in doing data protection properly. It's not always about getting a fine or being sanctioned or because it's a legal obligation. There are real benefits to data controllers in doing data protection or managing data properly in their businesses, and we want to share some of this with them tomorrow.
I mean, wanting to ask you how you've been got into the data protection space, because you seem really knowledgeable about the whole thing.
Thank you.
How did it happen for you?
The data protection space is something that is fairly new globally, but it grows on you as an individual when you work in institutions that manage bulk data and high volumes. And fortunately for me, I was part of the process in Europe of moving manual systems into electronic data in the late 90s when computers became business as usual tool. And I quickly became the office guru because of my background and experience in technology and managing at the front line. To be a very good data protection practitioner, you need multiple skills to be a very effective one. You need to have some project management background, good business acumen, know the cross-functional behaviors of other business entities, and you need to have worked over a period understanding audits, quality management, total quality management as a requirement of business, and people think that it's just lawyers that can be data protection practitioners. Far from it. It's more people who have business practical understanding. Auditors, project managers, risk managers, they become very good data protection practitioners. And I've worked in all these spaces in my life, and that has enabled me to get a more practical, rounded, holistic understanding of what, how to make data management effective and efficient.
And she's not just into data, she's chair for a couple of institutions, and I'm wondering how she does that, all of these institutions together. How do you do it?
Well, in managing my time effectively, and I have a great team in the commission that works with me and helps me to be efficient.
And I want to ask you, in the sight of Africa, how is Ghana doing when it comes to data protection?
So Ghana has the presidency of all data protection commissions in Africa, and so our secretariat is in Morocco. So as the president of the Ghana Data Protection Commissioners, we call it the NADPA, Network of African Data Protection Authorities. And as the president, I work with the secretariat in Morocco a lot, and I have to go to Morocco quarterly to chair the executive committee of the African Data Protection Commissioners. We work in alignment with the African Union, advising the African Union what the regional data management should be. We work with an organization called Smart Africa, charged with, by the presidents of Africa to digitize the whole region. They have signed an MOU with the NADPA, and we are working together to ensure that all parts of the country, the region, is digitized and using data effectively.
Aside Ghana, which other countries in Africa do you think is also doing well when it comes to data protection?
Aside Ghana, our French counterparts, the Francophones, were well ahead of us in passing their data protection laws and taking effective action. My peer commissioner in Senegal is doing very well. Her president, the president of Senegal, has decided to align with the NADPA to champion the cause of data protection commissioners and authorities in the region at the presidential level in the African Union. So he's very supportive of the work in Senegal, and because they have that executive buy-in, they are making a lot of inroads in Senegal. Morocco is a very, very passionate country about data protection, and they have done so well, establishing a lot of institutions in data protection programs. They have universities focused on data-related courses, have large artificial intelligence faculties, data centers in the country, for example, to manage the data to be localized in their country. So Morocco is doing very well. We have South Africa that recently passed their law but are taking serious action. We also have Burkina Faso, that is also one of the old authorities in the African ecosystem. We have Tunisia. They are all doing well. But interestingly, recently, certain countries have passed the data protection law and have hit the floor running, doing great things, such as Nigeria. We have a recent one, Nigeria, and we have Uganda and Rwanda, all doing marvelously, just passing their data protection law under 3 years ago.
We've seen the vice president champion data, collection of data, technology, moving this and doing that. I mean, what exactly does it add up to the country? What does it do for the country? I mean,
so it's good to have great leadership in a cause like this that is moving the country forward in a positive way. The whole world is moving into a digitized format, and it's good that Ghana is playing along, and we have a senior executive in the country giving us that buy-in and leadership in that space. So it's a very positive thing that we have from our vice president leading the digitization effort from his office.
We are told that you might not see the importance of it now, but maybe later.
Yes.
That particular phrase, what does it mean? Because if I buy food, I want to eat it now. Why should I wait for 2 years or 10 years or 16 years?
I understand that, but you see, as I was saying, our theme this year is on data governance. So the data is digitized. It's all over the place. Everyone's doing what they want to do with the data. Every entity is focused on their own action in the digitized space. Now we have the Data Protection Commission that is now trying to get all of them to sing from the one proverbial song sheet that helps them to structure the data that we have into some standardized way of working so that there's a consistent approach to data management. That we envisage will now give us that economies of scale and to give us a better yield with the data, because we are all looking at how we get data quality. If we have a lot of data and it's dirty data, we won't be able to really benefit us in any way. But we all have an interpretation of what we mean by data quality, what we mean by the data set, a good record. What should be a good record contain? What should any entity collect in order to have our systems talking to each other? How do we integrate our systems? So now that we have that fluid data, we are now thinking of the how we bring it together to now be processed for the global good. So this is why they say out there that we won't see the benefits until later. Until there is good data governance in the economy, we really don't have a good bird's eye view of what we have.
How long will it take us to get a good data governance?
It takes as long as it takes to get the commitment from the high levels in the country.
So when the high levels are not willing to commit, then it's like cost 90.
Yes, if a leader of an institution is not willing to get the institution registered and trained and getting the culture of the institution to be data protection thinking, then of course the leadership is poor and is not getting anywhere. So I see that a good description of an excellent leader is the one that is thinking about its customers or service users and their benefits. After all, it's the data that makes the business wheel, it's the grease that makes the business wheel turn. Any business or institution that does not have data will not run. And if the data is from us, then we are your most very important asset. Data, they say, is the new oil, is the new gold. Now, it's like, it's the air we breathe right now for business. And so if the business leader doesn't care about data protection and how it's structured, then it's leading the business astray. It is. So a good leader, an excellent leader, is the one that thinks of the data subject and how they can maximize the potential of the data to benefit its customers or service users. And so we must demand that of our leaders.
And I can't wait for the names to be published. At least we get to know who and who are doing right. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Any words before we wrap up?
We thank you for working with the Commission so well this week. It's been a marvelous week of interacting with the Ghanaian public, educating them, the webinars, especially in Kumasi where we launched our opening and discussed data protection. There was such a great acceptance of it and participation. And we hope that people will not go back and forget about the Data Protection Commission. Continue interacting with us. The more you send questions to us, the more you call us into your studios to discuss it, the more we educate ourselves, the more we see the benefit of the data to the nation, and the more we get the benefit of our digitized economy through proper data management.
And Patricia Adusei-OPOKU is the Chief Executive Officer of Data Protection Commission here in Ghana. Thank you for watching One on One. I am Bright, the Nakwasi Amenin. Good night.